And every time I see Steve Kerr ruin a game, which is all short ball lineup, putting Draymond Green at center, it reminds me of this old vid. It's not about the nail. Basically, this woman was complaining to her husband about her headache, and he's trying to explain, well, you have a freaking nail in your head. And she didn't want to hear that. She wanted to bitch. She wanted to make excuses. She wanted to moan. But anything that mentioned the nail in the head, and all we're going is like, there's a freaking nail in your head. Every time I watch Steve Kerr do this now, he doesn't just have a nail in his head. It's got a flag hanging off it that says, stop playing small against big teams. And Steve will go on and he'll say all sorts of stuff in press conferences. He'll say like, oh, we need better effort. We might want to tinker with the lineups. Hey, do you want to play some big? It's not about small ball. It's not about small ball. So, hustling and rebound. Do you want to play your 7 foot? It's not about small ball. Like, it reminds me of the bit. Like, you remind me of the woman with the nail in your head. You want to talk about everything and anything else, and you want to bitch about the problems, and you want to make excuses, but nobody can get into you and say, dude, there's a nail in your head. And if you do, you somehow get mad about it or get obstinate about it. And the only way I can explain it is addiction, behavioral addiction of like, dude, I've decided this is the way we're going to win or lose, and I'm going to write it. There is no team left doing it. There's no stats proving that it works anymore. And Draymond Green has been specifically bad in these last 2 games when we needed him the most with Steph Curry being out. And somehow you want to keep saying it's not the nail. Don't bring up the nail. How dare you? Don't bring up the nail in my head. Steve, there's a nail in your head. And again, the flag is hanging. Play some height. Dunleavy is going to have to force his hand when it comes to Steve Kerr and not give him the option to play this small ball lineup anymore. Again, it's not working, and all the teams left that are showing, Denver, Oklahoma City, Indiana, Knicks, Minnesota, have proven completely otherwise. It is a stubborn mule, addictive level behavior that needs to be stopped, and he's not going to stop it himself. Someone from the general manager or up is going to have to change the roster next year to do something about it. As the Golden State Warriors are about to lose, and look, Steph's out. Jokic goes down in Denver. Anthony goes down in Minnesota. Brunson goes down in New York. There's certain players where it's just like, dude, there's nothing we can do. SGA goes down to OKC. I know they've won without, but in the playoffs, you need your top guy. Steph hasn't been there, and it sucks. And I'm at least going to make one plea and one case and a little bit of homerism. I'm going to blame the schedule at least a little bit here. Can I at least say the schedule might be part of the problem, considering that Steph Curry, even though he's 37, has never had a hamstring injury, and they do say that hamstring injuries are often caused by fatigue. This is the calendar. Look at this shit. Since April 26th, they will now play 10 playoff games in 19 days. 10 playoff games. They've had not more than 1 day's rest in 10 straight games. In the regular season, they had more than that. Yes, in the regular season, sometimes you'll get back-to-backs and sometimes you'll do all that. But especially with travel days, usually in between, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 game quick set, they'll give them 2 days off, 3 days off, something to rest in between. And yet somehow in the mother flipping playoffs, look at this. Game. 1 day. Some of those are going to be travel and practice and everything else. And they had to play game after game after game after game. And look, I already know some of y'all are going to say, well, just win sooner. First of all, nah. Second of all, what happened to player safety? What happened to player safety in the NBA? Y'all are the ones that have lectured me for years about, we need load management. And I would go pause, and y'all say, no, you meant about taking games off. And all this stuff about, we need these stars healthy, and we need people to be able to rise up in the big moments. So we got to have them well rested, and we got to be able, it's entertainment. We got to be able to see them. And it's not just Steph that has gone down from this shit. Like I just mentioned, Tatum tore his Achilles. Donovan Mitchell also got hurt. Non-contact injuries. Those are fatigue injuries there. Non-contact means that their bodies are just breaking down, and maybe that's something to do that with the most intense part of the schedule, you're not even giving them 2 days off on travel days. It's just game off, game off, game off, game off. And also one more fun fact, who are the youngest teams left in the playoffs and where do they stand? Top 5 youngest teams in the playoffs currently. Oklahoma City 1, Indiana Pacers 2, New York Knicks 3, Cavs 4, Minnesota 5. Well, holy shit, that happens to be 4 of the 5 that are moving on are the 5 youngest teams in the league that are still in the playoffs. Maybe that has something to do with the fact that you have them on this grueling schedule after all of your public, nonsense about, we're going to make sure these players are rested and we need the stars to perform and yada, yada, yada. That schedule is insane. That type of, regiment is insane, and it is no shock to me that the only ones literally left standing are the young teams. So I at least had to throw that out there that the schedule was part of the problem. But I got to be real. And this is something that goes back years. I'm going to call this Steve and Dre's recurring behavior. When I blame the Golden State Warriors, I blame Steve Kerr and Draymond Green as usual. And as I pointed out before, and I'm going to bring the receipts here in just 1 second, to me, they're not drug addicts, they're not sex addicts, they're not gambling addicts, but they are behavioral addicts. I have said this, and I will bring again the receipt in just 1 second, that Steve Kerr and Draymond Green have issues that go into the level of addiction. Yes, I can talk about this almost 4 years sober. I have had to go through every system that you can think of, and I've seen all of this myself. I know addictive behavior when I see it, and just last year, I tried to explain this to you with both Steve Kerr and Draymond Green. I told you this over a year ago. They have behavioral addiction issues. Basically, behavioral addiction means that you are continuing compulsive or problematic behavior even after negative impacts. 3 signs of this include failing to stop doing things even when it's problematic, downplaying the behavior even when it's problematic, and increasing frequency and ignoring obligations to family and work, even when it's detrimental to you and the people around you. You know, a lot of people say, isn't that just kind of a better definition for stubborn? Possibly. But I mean, stubborn people can even stop if, you know, they realize, like, dude, this is detrimental to everyone around me. This is detrimental to my work. This is detrimental to my friends and family. I need to stop doing this. When it gets into this level where both of them are showing me that even when there's signs of negativity and there's signs that they are not getting the goddamn thing right and they continue to do it, and then when you ask them about it, even when it fails and it fails everyone else around them and they downplay it, that is behavioral addiction. These signs are real. Draymond Green has impulse control problems. I don't know if I'm really shocking anybody with that diagnosis, but he is truly one of those people, and I've sat next to these people. In the moment, they can seem like they really got it all together, that they figured it out, that they understand what they do is wrong, that they understand what they do is hurting others, including themselves. From now on, they're going to change and they're going to be different. And it's only once you've been in it for a few years like I have and seen people that you think, oh, that one's got to figure it out, he's got to figure it out, she's got to figure it out. And they're the first ones to go back and, because of their impulse control problems, just completely screw it all up. I had people that I really thought figured it out that relapsed before they left the parking lot. Draymond Green is in this bullshitter con artist, and it's almost not his fault. He just can't control it until you really make somebody like him truly reform in extreme ways to kind of cancel out this effort syndrome, this impulse control problem. You're going to see the two faces of Draymond as we've continued to see for years and years and years. He can say the right thing when he's calm, but when it's gut check time and when push comes to shove and all that training and all that explanation and all that understanding is supposed to show up, it doesn't. That's my full explanation. I got the old receipts. Go watch the old clips if you want to find it. They have behavioral addiction problems, and I'm not making this shit up. I will start with Steve Kerr because this is a twofold problem. First of all, he's addicted to Brandon Podziemski, and he's addicted to small ball. And look, Brandon Podziemski, I like the kid. He's got a bright future, but he has been objectively awful this series against Minnesota, and is almost specifically, along with Kerr playing him too much, the reason that they are losing these games without Steph Curry. Brandon Podziemski has shot so bad. He is 9 of 40 from the field for 22.5%, 3 of 17 from threes for 17.6%. In case you were wondering, that is on record the worst shooting since Pero Antic from the Atlanta Hawks in 2014. That is now being coupled with the fact that Steve Kerr is still playing this kid 33.5 minutes per game this series. That is third on the team in minutes played. That is 3 times more than Moses Moody. That is 4 times more than Guy Santos. That is 8 times more than Quentin Post. And that is 2.5 times more than Kevon Looney. For whatever reason, I don't know if he just completes him or something, but man, everyone else, including guys that are top picks, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, they have all been held to a different standard of, dude, if you're not performing, you got to sit your ass down. And somehow with this curly-haired kid, Steve Kerr has just got hearts in his eyes and will not sit him under any circumstance, even if he is shooting literally the worst since Pero Antic, whoever the freak that is in 2014 when we got guys on the bench like Moody, Santos, Post, and Looney who can all come in and contribute and can also bring in more size. He refused to do anything about it because Steve Kerr is a stubborn mule, and for whatever reason, he's in love with Brandon. And I don't mean to shit on Brandon, but dude, he looks out there just lost. He looks sad. It kind of reminds me of like when a kid gets caught smoking a cigarette and the dad says, now you got to smoke the whole carton. Like, he doesn't even want to be out there. His body language says, dude, I am not currently in a good mental state. Please let me go. Steve says no and says, I'm just going to keep your happy ass out there no matter how bad you suck. And so I really hate blaming him, but Jesus Christ, dude, 22.5% from the field and 17% from threes when we needed some offense is not getting it freaking done. The other thing, and this goes back with me, God, this goes back to like D'Antoni days, but Steve Kerr is now the ambassador of small ball. It is his only answer. And man, dude, if there's ever been an argument that there is literally no franchises left winning trying to run this all guard and forward small ball bullshit lineup, there is not one team left that does not play centers. Matter of fact, a lot of them play two at a time. Look at everyone who's doing well and who's left in the playoffs. They all have height. Denver, Jokic, Gordon, NPJ, Oklahoma City, Holmgren, Hartenstein, Indiana, Turner, Bryant, Obi Toppin, Knicks, Cat, Robinson. Minnesota puts out a lineup against us that'll sometimes be Gobert, Naz Reid, Julius Randle, like a 6'8 McDaniels, and Anthony Edwards is their shortest player. These are the only ones still clinging to this idea that it's a good idea to make sure everyone is shorter than the competition that we're going against. And it's just stupid. It just wears out your offense and your defense. It's something that could work in spurts, but I have always said they have won in spite of, not in because of, Steve Kerr bullshit obsession with this idea that small ball is the way to go. It cost us in FIBA when we got fourth place. It almost lost us in Olympics. It has lost Golden State Warriors both seasons and series, and is continuing to do it again. And because he does not care how much it affects work or anything else, as a behavioral addict, he is going to ride this shit all the way till the wheels fall off. And I don't know what to do other than just accept that he's just a stubborn damn mule. Like, it's almost comical. I'm watching the game last night and I'm just laughing. And every time I see Steve Kerr basically ruin a game, which he did again in the second half, where he went with his all-short ball lineup, putting Draymond Green at center. It reminds me of this old vid. It went viral about, it's not about the nail. Basically, this woman was complaining to her husband about her headache, and he's trying to explain, well, you have a freaking nail in your head. And she didn't want to hear that. She wanted to bitch. She wanted to make excuses. She wanted to moan. But anything that mentioned the nail in the head, and all we're going is like, there's a freaking nail in your head. Every time I watch Steve Kerr do this now, he doesn't just have a nail in his head. It's got a flag hanging off it that says, stop playing small against big teams. And Steve will go on and he'll say all sorts of stuff in press conferences. He'll say like, oh, you know, we need better effort. We might want to tinker with the lineups. Hey, do you want to play some big? It's not about small ball. It's not about small ball. So, you know, hustling and rebound. Do you want to play your 7 foot? It's not about small ball. Like, it reminds me of the bit. Like, you remind me of the woman with the nail in your head. You want to talk about everything and anything else, and you want to bitch about the problems, and you want to make excuses, but nobody can get into you and say, dude, there's a nail in your head. And if you do, you somehow get mad about it or get obstinate about it. And the only way I can explain it is addiction, behavioral addiction of like, dude, I've decided this is the way we're going to win or lose, and I'm going to write it. There is no team left doing it. There's no stats proving that it works anymore. And Draymond Green has been specifically bad in these last two games when we needed him the most, with Steph Curry being out. And somehow you want to keep saying it's not the nail. Don't bring up the nail. How dare you? Don't bring up the nail in my head. Steve, there's a nail in your head. And again, the flag is hanging. Play some height. You're going to have to force his hand. Has anyone seen Moneyball? There's a lot of stuff in the movie Moneyball, but there's a point where the GM is trying to get the manager on board with playing this new way of playing, and they had this all-star, but he didn't go with the system, and finally Billy Beane just traded his ass, and he walked into the room. He's like, you can't play Paney tonight. He's like, I'm going to play Paney. He's like, no, you literally can't, because I traded him. That is the level we're going to have to get. Mike Dunleavy is going to have to force his hand when it comes to Steve Kerr and not give him the option to play this small ball lineup anymore. Again, it's not working, and all the teams left that are showing, Denver, Oklahoma City, Indiana, Knicks, Minnesota, have proven completely otherwise. It is a stubborn mule, addictive level behavior that needs to be stopped, and he's not going to stop it himself. Someone from the general manager or up is going to have to change the roster next year to do something about it. Speaking of addictive behavior and assholes, I'm done with Draymond Green. I mean, is anyone else over it? I know he's been there since the whole time Steph was there, but I mean, at some point, again, we got to start forcing hands. We got to make some changes. Anyone else ready to say goodbye to Draymond and his bullshit and bring in a center for once and just see how Steph Curry can do with a 7-footer and maybe a little less pressure, and Jimmy Butler and everyone else getting some rim protection and some rebounding and not having to overexert themselves to where they get worn down and injured in the playoffs? Does anybody else want to see that? I would love to see it. I'm done with Draymond. And he's sucking without Steph Curry. The time that we needed him the most. All this stuff about, he's a winner when push comes to shove. Bullshit. The last 2 games, Draymond Green has had more turnovers than assists. 7 turnovers to only 6 assists on 7 of 18 field goals. It has been an abysmal performance the last 2 games for Draymond Green. And this whole playoffs, man, it has been the same old story, the same old BS, the same old nonsense. He's already up to 5 technical fouls. He's already up to 2 flagrant fouls. He's 2 away on both, even if they pulled off the miracle 3-1 comeback from another suspension. And I am so tired of this adage that Draymond Green needs to behave this way, that he needs to kick people in the dick, that he needs to choke Rudy Gobert, that he needs to punch Nurkic, that he needs to punch his own teammate in order to play decent basketball. It has been the most overused, nonsensical bullshit reason that, I could point out guys, Dennis Rodman, Ben Wallace, Kevin Garnett, all these tough dudes that didn't have to do all this stuff all the time and all this extra, and yet somehow, just like with addicts, we have enablers that have said that's what you need to do, we need to accept it, and everything else, and it's continued to wear on my patience. And then he played out the race card last week, which was just, I'm not even, I really don't want to spend a ton of time on this. The good news is a lot of people already did this for me. Everyone, universally, I was shocked, kind of went together and said, Draymond, shut up. When he came out after he had pulled some more nonsense, got more flagrants, technicals, said, man, I'm not an angry black man. I'm a very successful, educated black man with a great family, and I play basketball great. That's great at what I do. This agenda that continues to keep making me look like an angry black man is crazy. I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous. And I was so happy to see, without having to get too far into it, everyone said, no.
Cut the shit.
Stop it. You of all people do not get to play the race card right now. No one is saying that you're not a very successful father, basketball player, and educated and everything else. What we are saying is that you are angry as hell and you have outburst and, again, impulse control issues. He has more suspensions and ejections in NBA history than anyone else not named Rasheed Wallace, who was not exactly known for his anger management. He has been suspended in finals. He was suspended in 2023 multiple times. He has been suspended for punching his own teammates, and he has never gotten better, and there's always an excuse, including this type of nonsense he was saying there. The team never does anything about it, and the best way, in my opinion, to put all of this to a close, I would love to say bye-bye to Draymond. I have never really, I'll be honest, he's always been just a thorn in my side. I've never been a fan of him. And if we're going to keep him, I will say this one last time, then I got to go. There's the only solution. And nobody takes me serious, but maybe after this series and maybe after more nonsense, and let's see, we still got 1 game to go, what Draymond might do. I have always had one real solution that goes back to when I was in addiction problems and rehabs and everything else, and the things that I learned about the only way to stop people is through extreme measures. There is one way to stop Draymond Green, and I'm not joking. I've said this 3 times before, and I will say it one more time. 0 tolerance. What do I mean by that? I mean that when Draymond Green is on the court, if you do not see a Warriors logo on their jersey, you shut the up. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a ref. I don't care if it's the other player. I don't care if it's a fan. I don't care if it's an announcer. If you do not see a Golden State Warriors logo on that jersey, you are not allowed to talk to them for at least a year. And it is the only way sometimes to get people to understand the severity of, like, dude, this is the measure we have to go to like you're a child, because you cannot control your behavior. And of course he won't like it. And I mean, honestly, I don't even know if it would work at this point. We have let it go on for over a decade, and I don't even know if that level of extreme, but I've always made the joke that to the level of, I don't care if the referee went Joker Batman crazy and had the whole place soaked in gasoline and said, I'm going to set this bitch on fire. If Draymond Green doesn't come up right now and argue a call with me, I'm going to send this whole place, mother, women, and children all burning to the ground. He is still not allowed because he does not have a Warriors logo on his jersey. That is the level of 0 tolerance that I really do think, and I'm not joking, that you need to get him to reform, to rehab, and to understand that there's too many consequences for your actions. And now it's not even like your basketball's that great, man. It's, as the phrase goes, the chicken shit is starting to outweigh the chicken. There's really no excuse for it anymore. You're at the edge of your career, and unless you want to spend the last two on a non-contender, everyone getting their revenge on you, I would suggest this or something else close to it, because Draymond and Steve and small ball and your stubbornness and your addictive behavior, I'm ready to say goodbye to all of it.